Now, Congress' minimum income guarantee pledge has triggered a political war of words. Rahul Gandhi calls this scheme a surgical strike on poverty, while Defence Minister Nirmala Sitharaman says the Congress is relying on the Garibi Hatao slogan of 1971 as it failed to end poverty during its rule. We spoke with Abhijit Banerjee, the professor at Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and Lucas Chancel, who's the co-director at the World Inequality Lab, who have both advised and helped the Congress on this scheme, as well as Professor Himanshu from JNU on what they make of this scheme and its economic implications. Listen in.
I should clarify first that I was clearly not directly involved in the preparation of the scheme. We exchanged with Abhijit Banerjee, who was, from what I know, more closely related to the discussions with the Congress. However, as independent researchers, as a group of international researchers, we have done scenarios and evaluations of different ways that could be used in order to implement this minimum income.
So in your estimate, will it be possible to identify the poor?
So, you know, that's the first key point that needs to be made about such a scheme. We need much more clarity, which need much more transparency about income inequality and wealth inequality data in a country like India. The current state of public statistics on distributional statistics that are inequality statistics is pretty low, and this needs to be the quality of those needs to be increased. So in the current state of the situation, with the data we have at hand, we can identify a certain number of households. We can identify a certain, amount of money that would need to be spent. What
exactly was your contribution?
So, as I said, what we do as independent researchers is we did a series of analysis, and in our analysis, what was done is the evaluation of a top-up scheme, which apparently is not the direction that is taken by the government, but in my sense, it's still important for the Indian public, for Indian citizens, to have in mind different options that could be on the table. And this is an election campaign, so proposals can still evolve, they can still change in the coming weeks. So what is a top-up? A top-up is basically the government would add to a current level of income up to a certain threshold, so that all households below a certain threshold would all of them earn at least this threshold. From the point of view of social justice, this might be more justified than just adding a given amount of cash, say 6,000 rupees per month per household, to all households belonging to the bottom 20%, which is what I understand what the Congress party has detailed yesterday. Now, from a practical policy point of view, the Congress proposal of yesterday may be more easy to implement because a top-up scheme is more complicated. But what we estimated is a top-up scheme, and basically what we have in our estimation in a top-up scheme of 72,000 rupees per household per year. Basically, this would cost about 1.3% of GDP. So 1.3% of GDP and 2.9 trillion rupees. And how many households would benefit from this? So it would be about 33% of households. So 33% of the population would benefit from such a scheme.
I have Professor Himanshu also waiting by. He teaches economics at JNU in Delhi and is an expert on poverty studies. So, Professor Himanshu, let me just bring you in here. Since you have done these studies, are the poorest identifiable, according to you?
So that's actually really the problem. I mean, we really have no mechanism of identifying the bottom 20% of the population. If you remember, the previous history of the BPL census that we had turned out to be a complete disaster, and the Supreme Court had to intervene and get rid of it, and that is how we have the SECC. It is really difficult to get 20% bottom population. But more than that, not just identifying the 20% bottom population, but also trying to measure as to what is the deficit which will be topped up is going to be another nightmare. I mean, it's not just the implementation issue, it's also the conceptual issue. And I really don't know, what kind of a mechanism they have of figuring out the actual income of the households. They've never ever done an income survey in that sense. And in many cases, for example, in agriculture or in other places where income is not a regular stream and it is open to fluctuations, I really feel that it will be a big implementation challenge.
Professor Banerjee, first of all, I believe that you were involved in advising the Congress party. What exactly was the role you played?
Oh, I think advising is overstating it. I think I was involved in providing them with numbers, you know, and maybe telling them where to look up the numbers. I think there wasn't, advising would be, I think, clearly overstating the role I played.
Fair point, sir. Well, if you can tell us, you know, it is in the numbers issue that there is maximum problem. How do you expect the government, whichever the party in government, will be able to identify the bottom 20%?
It's an excellent question. I mean, they have, to give them credit, they have worried about this a lot. I think the basic idea that I think makes sense to me is that they were going to use the socioeconomic census, which was exactly designed to do something like this and then wasn't used so much because the government changed. So I think that they'll need to update it because people have got richer since 2011, and so clearly, you know, the number of people below whatever the poverty line that they set is going to has changed, and so they'll have to update it. I think doing that fast is not easy because it's obviously you know, a very large exercise if you want to do everybody in India. But I think what they'll probably do is sort of set a set of exclusion rules. Anybody who has a car is not in the poorest of the poor, etc. You set a set of rules, and you know, if you're not too ambitious, you don't try to get it exactly right, and you kind of err in the side of letting people in rather than excluding them, I think it's probably not too hard to do.